You're listening to the ESO Network, your station for all things geek.
Hello and welcome to episode 235 of the Soul Forge podcast.
Welcome to the Soul Forge, a place of silent mystery, quiet contemplation, and outright mayhem. Join your host, Sean Vanderloo, as he guides you through the adventures of living. Together, we'll talk about life and love, sex and dating, joy and heartache, memories and loss, and so much more. Don't worry, it's not nearly as pretentious as it sounds. Get ready for life, the universe, and everything on the Soul Forge.
Well, hello everybody. Welcome to a brand new, non-repeating episode of the Soul Forge. Aren't you glad you tuned in for a brand new, exciting episode? I bet you are. I'm not even sure how exciting it's going to be yet because, well, obviously I'm recording it now. I haven't finished recording it. I haven't edited it yet. So there we go. Here we are. And let's get right to it. Happy 2022 to all of you folks out there in podcast land. So glad to have you aboard. What's going on? Well, this is not a topic specific episode. I figured I'd give a bunch of updates and news and that kind of stuff as to where my life is and how I'm feeling and what's going on and all that kind of fun, good stuff that you come to the Soul Forge for because you expect it. So the last few episodes have been repeat episodes. And why is that? Well, as I mentioned in the last episode of 2021, I was feeling not myself. I was burnt out. I was depressed. There was just too much going on in my life. But since I don't like to let a week go by where there isn't an episode for your consumption, I put in a couple repeat episodes that I thought were fairly decent ones. Of course, there's more than 200 episodes in the archives, so they're all decent. Some are better than others, though, of course, as you know. I'm still exhausted. Am I depressed? Maybe sometimes, maybe a little bit of that's lingering, remaining. I don't know. I'm so tired I can't even think about it. But we're going to talk about exhaustion. We're going to talk about so many different things this week. If you hear any chirping in the background, that's either the furnace kicking on because it's frigidly cold or because the puppies are making their sounds that they make. And they're getting big, let me tell you. Well, I will tell you later on. So let's see, a quick update. As I'm recording this, it is the 11th of January, and this will come out on the 13th. I've written down a bunch of topics here that I'll touch on from time to time, and let's see where we are. I guess the first thing we'll talk about is the weather. Yesterday was Monday, and as many of you know, I'm a mailman. I deliver mail for Canada Post in all kinds of weather. Yesterday, I should not have delivered the mail. Nobody should have delivered the mail. For those of you who don't know, I live up here in Timmins, Ontario, Canada, as I lovingly refer to it, the land that culture forgot. It's crazy, the cold. It was about, I'm going to say, minus 40 with the wind chill. And it doesn't matter if you're Canadian, European, Australian, American. Minus 40 Fahrenheit is the same as minus 40 Celsius. I'm going to talk about Celsius temperatures mostly because I'm Canadian and that's what we do here. But I know minus 40 is the same for both. And that's how bad it was yesterday. But it was a Monday and there was a lot of friggin' mail. So we all thought, well, we better get it out because there's a lot. So we did. So the way it works is we start at 8 o'clock. And then we sort the mail into the case, and then we pull it out and throw it into bags. Somebody goes around and throws those bags into the relay boxes that we pick up our mail throughout the day. Anywhere from 4 to 10 times we pick up mail because we can't carry it all because there's so much. What happened? Well, let's see. I got out there, I'm going to say maybe by 9:30 I started delivering the mail. Maybe quarter to 10. By 11:30 I was so cold. I couldn't feel my fingers. We have hot paws, which are little bags of gunpowder kind of thing that you when you expose it to the air, it heats it up. So you put those in your gloves. They keep your palms nice and warm, but they don't reach your fingers. There were so many times throughout the day I couldn't feel my fingers. At 11:30, I almost called the cab and said, "Come and pick me up." But there was still so much mail to deliver that I kept going till about 2:30. I came in, and one of the girls inside said, "Oh, it looks like you have frostbite. Here's some Vaseline to put on your face." And I just stood there and I couldn't think. My brain was so frozen. I was like, "What?" And so she took the Vaseline and put it on my face for me because I couldn't think. I couldn't talk. It was all I could do to just do whatever I needed to do. Somehow I drove home, and then Julie and her daughter were talking to me, and I still couldn't focus. I couldn't process, and I have never experienced that before in my life. Sometimes in the summer when it gets so hot, I suffer from heat brain, but I didn't know that I could get frozen brain. So I did. It was brutal. I sat in the bath for an hour after work, and that still didn't really warm me up. It was that bad. It was that cold. I've never experienced such cold in all my life. I don't know how the homeless people survive. Today we didn't go out at all because it was actually, I think, closer to minus 50 with the wind chill. So some people went out and did their parcels just to get rid of those. I didn't. I couldn't. Yeah, it was bad. Tomorrow's supposed to be only minus 11 Celsius, so that's almost shorts wearing weather. But yeah, it was horrendous, and I've never experienced such cold or brain fog in my life, and I don't like it, and that's part of the reason why I don't like living here. What else is going on? As for feedback, many of you know I do 2 other podcasts with my British buddies. I do the Cosmic Pizza podcast, which is a general podcast about all kinds of different things. Tomorrow, actually, we're recording an episode about our favorite 80s movies. But we also do a podcast called The Epsilon 3, which is a Babylon 5 rewatch podcast. And I don't actually have access to the email for those 2 podcasts because pretty much the other 2 guys take care of that. And I know we've got some recent feedback from Bill L. And Bill, thanks for the feedback. I know that you're enjoying the Epsilon 3 a lot. I don't know if the boys have written back to you, but their names are Dan and Paul. I know you keep forgetting because it's not listed in any website or Facebook page or whatever, but the 3 of us are Sean, Paul, and Dan. Sean, Dan, and Paul. Dan, Paul, Sean, whatever. The other 2 guys are Paul and Dan, just so you are aware of that. Thanks for the feedback. Glad you're enjoying the show. Speaking of Babylon 5 and space and starships, well, we're not speaking about that, but that's a nice transition, don't you think? Eaglemoss, the Starship of the Month club that I was in for years. I've told you about that before, how they stopped shipping to Canada because they couldn't get stock in and COVID affected it and whatever. Well, you remember, I placed an order October 17th for 2 starships, a shirt and a mug. Well, guess what? Finally, after 2.5 months, I got my order in. I got Deep Space Nine, the XL edition. I got my shirt, I got my mug, and I had ordered the Discovery version of the USS Enterprise NC-1701, no bloody A, B, C, or D. I didn't get it, so I had to email them back, and instead of sending me out a new ship, they sent me a refund, or it's on its way, or something. But yeah, you wait 2.5 months, and your order doesn't come in properly, and you pay all kinds of duties as well. I do not enjoy shipping with DHL. They suck. So that's what's going on there. The Deep Space Nine station looks pretty friggin' awesome, and it's heavy. It's die-cast metal. It's a good size. It looks great on my shelf. Speaking of things that are shipping, let's talk about my Etsy store. You remember a few months back, maybe a few weeks back? I can't remember. I had told you that I had listed the sign that Black Cat cigarettes that my mom and I, on our last visit together before she passed, she had picked out and her friend had bought for her. And I've decided to declutter and sell as many things as I have. Well, I listed it for a ridiculous price. And sure enough, somebody bought the thing. And he messaged me today with pictures to show me that whoever had shipped it, it looks like they'd driven over it with a car because it was bent right in half in the middle, like a tire tread. So I had to put in a claim today with Canada Post Shipping to get some money back for that. So that's going to take 5 business days for them to either look at it or contact me or whatever. So that was sad. That was not a good memory. But there it is. Put in it for a ridiculous price, ship it off, and it gets to the guy in not great shape. So what is that telling me? Is that a message from the universe saying I shouldn't have got rid of it, or it's out of my hands now, and once things are gone, then you just toss them away and it doesn't matter? I'm not sure what it means. I'm sure there's some kind of deep psychological motivation or thing behind that, but whatever. I don't know. What else? Oh, my good buddy Renee. What I was going to come back with this week for this week's episode was his topic suggestion for 22 ways to make 2022 yours. That's long. I was going to call it how to make 2022 your bitch or something like that. But we had been texting about it back and forth, and he'd only come up with 5. And because I've been so exhausted, I haven't had time to come up with 22 of them myself. I'm hoping that this weekend I will come up with 22 ways to make I can't even say it, 2022 yours. I'll come up with those ideas, and maybe that'll be next week's episode. You never know. It's hard to say, because with SoulForge, you just never know what's going to happen, right? Just like I don't know what promo I'm going to play for another podcast right here on the ESO network.
Time to grab your pillow and join the Geek Father and Little Bit for discussions on current, nostalgic, and speculative happenings in pop culture. Nerd news, fandom histories, deep dive discussions, reviews, and more. It's like listening to your closest friends have a nerdy conversation. So sit back, relax, and let the Blurred Nerds podcast embrace you with their warm, goofy goodness. It's Nerd Goals for your ear holes, right here on the ESO network.
And whatever promo I just played, I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you go check that podcast out. I normally, or not normally, sometimes I will look up what promo is next in the rotation. This time I didn't do it. I just pulled out the recorder and started talking, and here we are. So yeah, that's how that works. So let's see what's on the list. Mom Sign, Renee, Eaglemoss, the Etsy shop. This January I finally became a star seller. That means all my stats are 95% or higher. So that means my message response rate. Do I respond to a potential customer's message within the first 24 hours? Yeah, I do. Do I dispatch my items on time? I sure do. Do I have 100% feedback? Pretty close. I think 95% because I got a couple 4 stars, but most of them are 5-star reviews. So I'm a star seller for January. It doesn't really give me much, but it looks good on the page when people look at it. And I'm on track to be a star seller in February as well. So that's awesome. I think I'm up to 122 sales and maybe 37 feedback or something like that. I haven't looked recently, but it's close to that. So I'm still enjoying that. I've been watching YouTube videos about all kinds of different things. I watched one how to be a full-time Etsy seller and get rid of your real job. And basically it's the advice is stop thinking of it as a side hustle. Think of it as a legitimate business. So that's a good idea. I'm going to take a sip of water because I'm thirsty. It's hot down here and I'm talking a lot. So what else have we got on the agenda? Well, I already talked about it's so cold that I couldn't think. So that was pretty horrible. Let's talk about some puppies. You remember that Daisy, our golden doodle, had 8 puppies December 6th of last year, and I think 4 of them are spoken for now. So there's 4 males remaining. If you're interested, they're out there, and yeah, they should be ready by the beginning of February. They're very cute. They are bigger than Nimoy, my little teacup Yorkie. He weighs about 3 or 4 pounds, and they outweigh him at least by twice. They're little porkers. They're cute. They're running around. They're very yappy. They like to play. They're the cutest friggin' things ever. We don't have a big enough house to keep them all, and that would just be a nightmare because there's a lot of pee and poo, and they eat a lot. So there's that. But cute? Oh yes, cute for days. I have a week off, the first week of February. So for that, what I'm going to do, one of the people who bought the puppy lives in Wawa, which is kind of on the way to my old hometown of Sault Ste. Marie. So I'm going to bring it to her, or we're going to meet up in Chapleau or somewhere. And then I'm going to continue on to the Sioux and spend about a week there visiting my brothers and whatever's left of my family and just decompressing and maybe getting some sleep, because I think I've tracked down the depression that I was feeling to a lack of sleep, because ever since Daisy gave birth to these puppies, she's been going outside at all hours of the night, when before she used to sleep her nights all the way through. So because I'm interrupted in my sleep 3 or 4 or 5 times a night, and also because it was December, and being a mailman in December is pretty much one of the worst things you could do, and add that to the bone-chilling cold, it's just been a lot of crap. So hence the depression and the unhappiness and wanting to escape. So yeah, so maybe I'll be able to recover during that week. That'll be very nice. I'm looking forward to that. What else have I got on the list here? Oh, I started up a new Facebook page. You know how you can go to Soulforge podcast page for all the episode links and memes of either positivity or funny things, or sometimes it's a little bit crude, just depending on my mood at the time. But I started up a new Facebook page dedicated to just pure motivation, and I'd like all of you out there in podcast land to join that Facebook page and maybe invite all your friends to join the page as well. It's called Motivation Destination, and what it is every time I come across a meme or an article that is about being positive or having a good outlook on life or taking charge of yourself, I post that meme in there. So that's new. It's only 3 or 4 days old at this point. So I would love for all of you out there to join it and to share it if you could. That would be great. There's no cost. It doesn't do anything for me really, other than the satisfaction that I'm spreading the messages of positivity and good vibes, because really that's what it's all about. What else have we got on the list? Well, we got some sad celebrity deaths. We all know that Betty White passed away a couple weeks before her 100th birthday. The other day at work, People magazine, somebody had one, and it showed Betty White turns 100. I can't believe they actually shipped that out beforehand, but they did. And I don't know if that's going to be a collector's item or not, but that's a thing. And then just the other day, Bob Saget passed away at the age of 65. Of course, you know him from Full House and America's Funniest Videos and all that stuff. And I saw a meme that somebody said, this past few weeks has been the worst. First they take our grandma, now they take our dad. So there's that. And I'm sure there's all kinds of other celebrities that have gone as well, but those were 2 big ones. Of course, you all know that, but that's a thing. And yeah, it's just, well, it's part of life, really, but it's still sad because that's our childhood, or maybe not, depending on your age, but you know what I'm saying. Yeah, so that's that was a thing. And did you all watch Don't Look Up on Netflix, that movie that's getting all kinds of buzz because either you love it or you hate it, and it's about the comet that's coming towards the Earth, and there's only 6 months left before it hits, and half the population doesn't believe it's coming, and the rich billionaire tech guy is trying to mine it for profits, and it's just basically a state of well, I don't know how you'd say it. People are comparing it to like a documentary about climate change kind of thing, and how most people are apathetic or don't know what to do, and so they just ignore it. So I watched it. Lots of people I know loved it. Some people I know hated it. Some people I know couldn't even get through it all. But I enjoyed the heck out of it. Of course, I'm a firm believer in climate change and the dooming of our society, the impending doom. I don't know. It's not good unless we turn it around right quick. So there's that. Actually, that brings me to the last thing that I've written down here on my list, called the off-grid cabin. Lately, I've been watching lots of YouTube videos. Well, you know that I have, because I did that episode late last year about being a prepper for doomsday and all that stuff, and how I just started watching the videos and gathering a few supplies and getting into it and stuff. Well, I've been watching all kinds of videos about off-grid cabin building, and there's a lot, actually. Surprisingly, there's I don't know, dozens of people out there who just make videos about how they've built cabins off the grid. Yesterday I was actually kind of lucid for a moment, and I was looking for vacant land around here with water access to see, because I would love to build myself an off-grid cabin so that if the shit does hit the fan, or if there's some kind of collapse or whatever, just to have one, just because it would be cool to see if I could do it. Because all these guys say, yeah, you don't really need any skills, you just need to know a little bit about what you're doing, and it doesn't cost that much. Like one guy built, I think, a 10 by 12 cabin for $125 because he already had the land, and all he needed to buy was a tarp for the roof and some 10-inch spikes to nail the logs together, and the rest he just did by himself. And he already had the axe and the saw, and he got some reclaimed lumber for the doors, and some old windows that he had picked up for free, and all kinds of different stuff. So he built this whole thing for $125. There was another guy who built a nicer looking cabin with electrical and stuff for like $7,000. So there's all kinds of ways to do it, and all these guys are doing it in different methods and whatnot. And it's kind of fascinating, and it looks like a heck of a lot of work, even though the videos are only like 25 minutes. I'm like, oh yeah, it takes 25 minutes to build a cabin, but obviously it takes weeks and weeks and lots of prep and practice and supplies and skill and all that kind of fun stuff. But there you have it. I would like to buy a few acres of land with a lake or a creek and build myself some kind of a cabin. There was some property about half an hour outside of Timmins for, I think it was $95,000 for 12 acres, but you get the tree rights and the mineral rights on the land and the water rights and whatever else they have. Do I have $95,000 to just go and do that? No, I can't. I can't do that. I don't have that kind of money. And for land, I think you have to pay cash. You can't get a mortgage on vacant land, so that's way out of my range. I'm going to have to sell a heck of a lot more pop vinyls in order to get that. Probably like 10,000 more. But that's pretty much where my mind is at right now. I don't necessarily think society is going to collapse, but if it does, I would like to be prepared. So this past week, some emergency lanterns came in from Amazon, and now I'm looking at food storage and that kind of stuff. It's all very expensive and I can't really afford it, but it's nice to dream, and I figure if I put it out into the universe that this is what I want to happen, somehow the universe will make it happen, because as long as you have faith that things will work out, it usually always does, at least in my experience. And that's not to be all woo-woo and spiritual or religious or whatever, but it just seems, at least I've got several examples from my own life where I didn't know how it was going to happen. I knew it was going to happen, and it did happen because I believed it would, and then it did. So there's that. So that's where I'm at right now. Yeah, and that's basically about it. I haven't really read anything because I just haven't had the energy, because I've been so tired. Yeah, it's been too much lately. So there's that. Do we want to end this episode on a positive note? Of course we do. Everything's going to be fine. Spring is around the corner. We're going to get the climate crisis under control. COVID is going to be over soon. I know kids are going back to school here in Ontario back on Monday, because they were supposed to go back, on the 3rd or the 5th? But the Premier of Ontario said, no, we're going to delay it by 2 weeks. So apparently the 17th is when they go back. So that's a good thing, because kids need to be in school for their mental health and all that fun stuff. Other than that, if you'd like to leave a review in the iTunes shop or the podcatcher of your choice for this show, that would be more than amazing. If you'd like to leave a donation to help me support the hosting fees for the whatevers, Podbean site, that's what it is, not the whatevers. It's coffee.com/rustedsoul. That's ko-fi.com/rustedsoul. Also, if you look up my name, Sean Vanderloo, on YouTube, you can find my YouTube channel and see mostly all of the videos, which are basically just the static image of the podcast logo. And you can hear all the episodes if you want to listen to me on YouTube. There's also some other funky videos that aren't podcast related that you can find there. And there's almost 200 episodes of the Rusted Robot podcast, which I used to do as well. So go do that. Check out Cosmic Pizza Podcast with Paul and Dan. Check out the Epsilon Free Podcast with Dan and Paul. And until next time, soulforgepodcast@gmail.com if you'd like to send me a message. So all of you out there in podcast land, thanks for coming by. Hope this was a fun episode. We'll talk to you again next week. Take care of yourselves and each other, and remember, misery might love company, but so does joy, and joy throws much better parties. Thank you for listening to another episode of the Soul Forge Podcast. Your support is greatly appreciated, and we hope you'll tune in again next time. Remember that you can visit soulforgepodcast.com for all of our social media links, and don't forget to share the show with everyone you know. The Soul Forge Podcast is your best source for living your best life.
Think about it.
Please enter program.
The android at the bar said you could show me my old ship. Let me see it.
Insufficient data. Please specify parameters.
The Enterprise. Show me the bridge of the Enterprise, you chattering piece of...
There have been 5 Federation ships with that name. Please specify by registry number.
NCC 1701. No bloody A, B, C, or D.
Program complete. Enter when ready.
This has been a broadcast of the ESO Network. Be part of the crew and help support our shows by donating to our ESO Patreon or by shopping at the TeePublic store, which can all be found at www.esonetwork.com. The ESO Network, your station for all things geek.